Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. Welcome back to the Disciples of Zeus podcast. My name is Ethan Benstead, and join with me, as usual, is my co-host, James Dent. James, how are you doing today?
Mate, I am as happy as a pig in mud. How are you doing today?
Not that good, but I'm almost as good as that. Now, for
Almost.
today's episode, we're going to be discussing time management. Now, this was an idea brought from yours truly, James Dent. But before we jump into the wonders of time management, what is your thought of the day?
My thought of the day? You ask me this every time, and as much preparation as I do for an episode, this is the one part that I never prepare for. So my thought of the day is I'm going to write down the things that I need to prepare for so that they don't catch me off guard when they come up, because even outside of this podcast, there's a lot of things that happen regularly and that catch me off guard every single time. And so it's my responsibility to prepare for them accordingly. And I shall do that right now. Ethan, your thought of the day while I grab a journal?
Well, I didn't have a thought of the day until I looked over and saw big old Arnold Schwarzenegger that says
sorry.
Cocker right up there.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been actually reading a lot more about Arnold recently. And I think he's a clear example of when you put your mind to something, it can be achieved. Like he was a bodybuilder. Then he was an actor. And now he's the governor of California. He just put his mind to it. He put in the work, he put in the hard work, and got to all those stages because of that fact. So
certified big baller shot caller.
Exactly. So that is my thought of the day. Be like Arnold. Now, moving forward to time management, which James is actually showing a great example right now of him managing some stuff. But time management, James, is an idea that you brought towards me. Why time management? Why not another episode? Why is time management so important?
Time management. There's a lot of reasons why it's important, and the reason why I'm pausing is because I'm trying to figure out the one that is probably like the most important or the most foundational. What I'm going to go with is there's only one thing that is non-renewable, and that's time. So any time that you're wasting is time that you can't get back no matter how hard you try and no matter what you do. You can definitely expend. Sorry. Yeah, that's right. You can expend your life and make it shorter, but there's not really anything that you can do to actually, like, stretch out your life, regardless of how hard you might try. So managing your time and probably more accurately, spending it wisely is a really, really important thing to do. Because there's also the whole expression of, like, show me someone's calendar and I can show you their future. I totally believe in that to its core, because how you spend your time now determines what your life looks like tomorrow, the day after that, etc. So you could make the argument that time management is the foundation for absolutely everything. I'm not going to make that argument. I'm just saying that that is one that you could make. And if it is the foundation and the one thing that you can't possibly get wrong, or else it will ruin you for your whole life, probably pretty important to talk about. What do you think of time management, Ethan?
My thoughts on time management have altered a lot, I'd say, in the last 2 years. 2 years ago, I mainly thought of time management as scheduling my days down to like the minutes, the seconds, but also in terms of like work and university. For example, I was very, very good at time management when I worked at a supermarket because I got all of my jobs done, bang, 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 and had plenty of time left over before I had to close the store. In university, I scheduled my day as like, cool, I'm going to spend an hour on this assignment, an hour on this, 3 hours on practice there, this, and then I can go home and have a bit of more relax. That's how I used to kind of look at time management. Now, in regards to if you are doing university or you do have a job in a supervisor position, they are skills that you realistically should have to kind of achieve what you want. Unless, of course, you're like me and sometimes put an assignment off and didn't do it until the last 24 hours and still got good marks, then, well, congratulations. You are a smart, smart person. But my
Humble brag, humble brag.
my new thoughts of time management is more on what am I doing daily to help future Ethan? Spending, like, when you say spending time, right? We say the word spending, like money. I'm spending time with James right now. I could be spending my time doing other things. It's like I spend my money on food, but I could be spending it on something else. I think that's a really good way to look at time. When you say spending, you should be thinking about it as your the form of currency. How are you spending your time? Are you spending your time productively to help you? Or are you spending your time ineffectively, wasting it, not doing anything that's going to make your life better in the future, or not even in the future, make your tomorrow better? That's how I've kind of switched my thoughts of spending time and time management. As I have 24 hours, I have $24 in a day. In those $24, I have X amount of cents, whatever, whatever, whatever. I've now switched that thought of time management to more of that than compared to scheduling my day down to the minute. And I still sometimes do that, but it's more of how effectively am I spending my time. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. An exercise that I've done for myself, and I did sell it as part of a course one time, is I made up a spreadsheet for budgeting. And on that spreadsheet, I think one of the coolest things that I did was I concocted a formula for true time value, which was your waking hours over the course of a year, and then your income over the course of a year, and then take total net income, divide it by your waking hours, and then you have your true time value. So how much your time is actually worth. And so you were saying it as like, oh, I have $24 in a day. But the reality is, first of all, it's a jarring experience realizing how little your time is worth. Yeah, it's pretty wild. We're going to go there another time. But it's jarring realizing that your time is worth basically nothing. But what's even more jarring, arguably, is realizing that, if you spend, let's say, an hour scrolling, 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 you've just spent like $5-10 depending on how much you earn. And it's like, would you spend, if you got a do-over and you were like, okay, I get another hour, am I going to spend another $5 to do this activity? Or would I pick a different activity to spend $5 doing? The opportunity cost, once you sort of attach a dollar value to it, to me at least, became really jarring and like actually quite unsettling, which I think was productive overall.
Well, that's a pretty good way of thinking about it. Like, imagine my bed is right here, right? Say if I had a man right there, and he was like, Ethan, you can lay in your bed for an hour and scroll, but you have to give me $10. I'd be like, no, no, I don't think I will. But that's a good mentality to kind of have. Like every single action you take, it's like you're handing an imaginary person your money over to be able to do that action. Or if you're going to work or you're working, you're getting that income back into you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's still, yeah, the same opportunity cost exists, right? Like to go to work, you're still spending your $10. But the thing is, you might be spending $10 to be there for an hour, but your work might be paying you, say, $50 to be there for an hour. And so you can actually like calculate the delta and be like, well, this is an activity that earns me $40. And once you have your freedom number, as we talked about with the $1 million weekend, you can go, you know what? The actual average amount of like time, like money that I need is whatever it is. Let's just pretend that it's like $15 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're sitting at $10 an hour right now, you can go, okay, well, I'm worth $10 an hour. I need to be worth $15 an hour. What if I just remove any task that gives me like less than $5 an hour? And then you sort out your time like that. And then magically, because you're removing all of these $0 an hour tasks that you're paying to be part of, you just magically end up at your $15 an hour freedom number, which is pretty sick. And so that brings me on to another point on time management. And I feel like this is one that you're going to challenge, which is fine. But I think that time management is less about trying to insert things into your time, and it's actually trying to really just restrict what you spend your time on. So I think if you have a calendar with like 1 million items in it, that just shows a lack of priority, and that's actually ineffective time management. But if you have a calendar with, say, 2, 3, 4 items in it, and you actually stick to those items over the course of a day, I think that is effective time management. Do you agree with that?
I do, actually.
Yeah. Pleasant surprise.
I do. Because we've talked in the past. We talked in the past regarding tasks that are meaningless in our. Oh my god, what episode was it? We talked about mental masturbation. I can't remember which episode it was.
I talk about that a lot, so it could be any episode.
No, it was I think it was the $1 Million Weekend episode, or it was regarding habits. It was the habits episode that we talked about it. In the habits episode, we talked about all sorts of different habits. However, you can fall into the trap of mental masturbation, which is becoming a very, very common theme that we keep bringing up.
I'm not bringing it up for me, Ethan. That's all that I can say.
I mean, you brought it up a couple of times, but moving forward, I agree with this notion, because in the habits episode we talked about you can fall into the trap of making yourself look like you're doing stuff to make yourself better, but in the end it's just mental masturbation. So in your example, or if you have 4 things that you need to prioritize, say it's like gym for like 2 hours, business for 2 hours, reading or whatever, that's like 8 hours right there of priorities. And as you know, in the past it's made you money, and you just keep doing that to make you money. Whereas the person who's like, okay, cool, I'm going to do this down to like the last 10, 15, 20 minutes of their day, but they're not going anywhere. They're just staying stagnant. They're not going up or down. They're just staying flat. I mean, yeah, I have no queries or concerns regarding what you said. I completely agree with you there.
Thank you. Much appreciated, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So yeah, another thing on time management that I want to get your opinion on is, so in the 4-hour work week, Tim Ferriss basically breaks it down to efficiency versus effectiveness. So efficiency is doing things as rapidly as possible, and efficiency is like the guy that times his like morning poop because he wants to get down to under a minute so he can go do more work.
Mhm.
But effectiveness is, instead of him doing work that's like, let's say, sending a customer support email, he might do work that's more along the lines of, I'm going to hire a customer support representative so that they can do all of this for me, and then I can focus my time on better things. And that's what he defines as effectiveness.
Mm.
I wonder how you think about being more effective with time management, and because you might again disagree, but I don't feel like efficiency is a big deal. It's definitely
Oh,
a thing, but I think that effectiveness is the real key. And so I wonder, how do you think about being effective with your time management?
I would rather get a job done correctly than get a job done fast and incorrectly, because then I have to go back and fix it. And it's funny you talk about this because recently I actually got offered a job to basically make a CEO's life more effective, taking out all of the tasks that he is doing at the moment. And I would do those tasks instead. So, hiring, training, looking after reps. He does all of that at the moment. I've been offered that job so he can go and be more effective with his time, whether that be contacting more suppliers, thinking of new programs to do within the business, etc., etc., etc. Effectiveness is way more important than efficiency. Efficiency can be good in some cases. However, say you're at the gym, right? I would rather spend, like, if I'm doing chest day, for example, I would rather spend more time at the gym to make sure I have an effective workout, having longer breaks, thinking about my reps more, than having an efficient workout. Because by the end, sure, I finish the workout quickly, but it's going to take me much longer to get to the body I want. Whereas if I was more effective with my workout, I'll get to that point a little bit quicker. So yeah, I agree. Effectiveness 100% over efficiency.
Yeah, in that response, you actually kind of accidentally changed my opinion, and I actually disagree with myself now. Because there's circumstances where efficiency is effective. So to give you an example, you might be able to get more of a pump by doing 1,000 repetitions of bench press. You just have the bar and you do that for like literally an hour straight. And you might be able to get more of a pump and you'll definitely destroy your muscle more. But it's not efficient. And the reason that becomes a problem is because you run into recovery things. And then, so that thought crossed to my mind as you were responding. And then I was like, well, there's also an argument to be made that making things more efficient can be more effective as well.
Oh, well, as
So,
you said, I also thought of something else just then. In the
hmm,
regard to the customer service representative, right? The business owner has hired that person to make it more effective. However, now this person's whole job is to reply to emails. That'll be more efficient because that's their entire job. And instead of not waiting maybe 30 minutes for a response will be done in 2, 3 minutes because of the fact the business owner has hired for effectiveness. However, this person is now making it more efficient, which means it's more effective.
yeah. So the way that I'm now going to articulate it moving forward after this very insightful discussion is effectiveness is the goal and efficiency is just one of the paths to get there. The other question that now raises is, what are the other paths to get there?
To get to effectiveness?
Yeah, so if you sort of, effectiveness is always the focus.
Mm-hmm.
What are the paths to get there? So one path is, if I make things more efficient, then I'll be more effective at the goals. I'm thinking out loud, but I think having priorities and clear goals is probably another path to get there, because if you're putting emphasis on the wrong things, then that'll be less effective than putting it on the right things.
Mm-hmm.
But for a brainstorming session, is that it? Or is there more?
So I'm just going to get my whiteboard up real quickly.
That's all right. Not a problem. Physical whiteboard or digital?
Physical whiteboard.
Very nice.
Effective. Now we've got efficiency.
Oh, fun fact: we're getting all of the education today. This is the first time that a mind map has actually made sense. I've always thought of them as being very silly constructs, but this one's like, you have an end goal. What are all the possible paths you can take to get there? And that sounds like a mind map.
It is a mind map.
I finally, after all these years, understood the point of a mind map. This is a productive day, Ethan.
Spending a
day to be alive.
So we've got priorities, we've got efficiency, right?
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm trying to think of ways that I've, in the past, gotten to a goal. So I've had my priorities set. That's number one. I've been efficient with those priorities as well, which has made me effective. What else? What else?
Thinking out loud, and I'm going to forget some stages in it, but there was a thing floating around like 6 or 7 years ago, like a management theory, and it was basically like a funnel of, you have every possible task at the top, and then right down the bottom you have sort of the gold things that you actually should take action on. And I'm likely to get the order wrong, but by memory, it was eliminate everything that can be eliminated, which to me sounds like priorities or decisions. There's cartridge to cut away. Then it was automate. No, sorry. Yeah, that's right. Automate, which we haven't. Efficiency.
I think you would efficient. I think efficiency is the main word, but automate is like the dash above.
Yeah, but they occupy the same space in my mind, so we're going to call it prioritize. Make more efficient, aka automate. The third one was delegate, meaning hand off to someone else. And the fourth one was procrastinate. And the last one was act. But I can't remember what the actual word was.
I would say delegate would also be a dash of efficiency, just because of the fact that if you delegate things to people, you're being more efficient.
I suppose. I'm inclined to separate them. And the only reason that I say that is that it might be like all of this kind of is in the name of efficiency. But delegation is a form of like being more effective because you gain that leverage. Whereas efficiency and leverage, I associate with different things. Like I don't associate efficiency with leverage. I associate it with, I suppose, like compounding, if you like. But delegation, I do associate with leverage, and so it occupies a different. Leverage seems like a good way of being more efficient, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at me saying all these. Sorry, you were saying?
No, that's all good. If that's the case, would leverage be the word and then delegate would come off leverage?
I would have to think so, because there's a lot of ways that you can leverage things.
Now, I had a thought as well. Foundation.
What do you mean by that?
To be effective in your life, you have to have some form of strong foundation beforehand to be able to achieve something.
Hmm.
Just thinking out loud as well.
Go into a bit more detail. I'm not sure I followed the train of thought.
So, whenever you've wanted to go ahead and do something with your life, to go ahead and achieve one of your goals, one of your priorities, you've had to have some sort of foundation to be able to, like a solid foundation to be able to get to that point. Maybe it's not in regard to effectiveness, but again, just thinking out loud here. No. You know what? I think this is done, actually. I don't think foundation is a part of it. If you're
I'm sure
thinking,
there's other things we could add, but yeah, I'm
I think
happy to leave it there.
efficiency, priorities, and leverage.
That sounds like a pretty good list.
Triangle of effectiveness.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Let me draw that up for the viewers. Efficiency, leverage, and
Priorities. Is the triangle of effectiveness.
Here you go, listeners. This is the high quality content that you signed up for. Look at that. Perfection. Now, if that's not worth a like and subscribe, then I don't know what is. Do you, Ethan?
If that's the case, then delete your YouTube channel now, because...
Couldn't agree more. Are you deserving of a YouTube channel? If you see that triangle and you don't think to yourself, like, subscribe, comment, binge watch every video that we've ever produced. That's the real key. If you're not doing that, then you are wasting your time. This is about time management.
So I guess circling back to time management then. We've talked to now, we've created the triangle of effectiveness. Now, I think this is probably something to review back on once we've actually reviewed it ourselves. Kind of like make a formula on how to properly utilize the triangle of effectiveness in your day-to-day life. But for the listeners, to wrap up this, quite frankly, very, very good episode. If someone was to start, wanting to time manage their life a little bit better, what would you say to them to kind of like break down their life?
I'm going to contradict myself just very briefly.
Okay.
In the interests of complete beginners. If you're a complete beginner, the odds that you are currently doing the things that you quote unquote should be doing is really, really low. And I think time management at that stage in the game it's kind of like you're trying to create a hedge fund with like $2,000 in the bank account. It's just not necessarily worth it. And so what I would encourage you to do is to start with building some of those foundational habits and then trying to funnel more of your time into those things. So you're going to add in some things that are, effective, good, helpful, love, happiness, all of those things. And if you start from that point and then you funnel all of your time into those things, you'll naturally sort of cut out the things that you maybe would otherwise be trying to sort of manage around, if you like.
Yeah.
So I think start with habits, and then put those habits into your calendar. And this is an important one: live out of your calendar. I am a big proponent of this. Some people think that it's weird that I will, send them invites to, say, do a podcast session with them, or my lady friend, she thought it was very weird that I was sending her calendar invites for date night. But, people will either get used to it or they'll think I'm just going to laze about. I don't want to live out of a calendar. And then you need to ask yourself if those people that, don't want to get involved in time management and self-development and all that, you need to ask yourself if they are the kind of people that you want to hang around with. And if the answer is yes, then you can unsubscribe right now. But if the answer is no, you want to hang around with people who procure their time effectively, then you need to be subscribed and like and comment on this video, like we said earlier. Ethan, your final thoughts?
Well, touching on that, if you do have people in your life that are not into self-development or time management and want to get their time better, if you haven't already watched our episode on Law 10 of Robert Greene's book, The 48 Laws of Power, please go ahead, because we do a big dive into the law of infection. So go ahead and get that one ready right now. However, for starting off in your, I guess, time management journey, I would agree with James in the sense of create a foundation. However, I would be taking one of the pillars of the triangle of effectiveness and figure out your priorities. Figure out what your goals are, what your priorities are. And once you've done that, you can kind of figure out then what are the steps. There we go. There's priorities there. Figure out the steps of where you need to go to achieve those goals. And then you can start ticking off efficiency and leverage. And then congratulations, you are now a very effective person. That's where I would start.
Congratulations indeed. Yeah, I think we will have to revisit this episode at some point. And because there's so much about this, and as we mentioned at the start of the episode, this is kind of the thing that all other things rest on. You were talking about foundation earlier. The act of being effective and efficient and leveraging stuff and prioritizing stuff, that is literally like the foundation for everything.
Yeah.
So we will revisit this episode at some point. And dear listener, I think now is the time to go to the very next episode so that you can just pass the time until we get onto that next episode. Ethan, it's been a pleasure as always, sir.
James, you too. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.
See you. Bye.